What is up, ladies and gents? Crazy day for UCLA football. We got some commitments. We had our hearts broken as it came down to a decision to a rival school. We got some other big news, maybe some visitors coming around. It's a big, big time. We're going to need all the questions you guys got. It's just me tonight, no madman. So give us some questions. But it was an eventful day for UCLA football. And let's start with, to me, is the positive. Let's start with the positive off the top. UCLA was able to secure a couple starters today heading into next season, which I think are very, very crucial and instrumental for what they want to do in year number one with Bob Chesney. First and foremost, DJ Barksdale, the talented slot corner from James Madison University, has committed to Bob Chesney and the UCLA Bruins. A big victory for everybody else going on in this program. DJ Barksdale, 5'9", 181 pounds. He has 27 consecutive starts. Normally the size would concern you. Nickel corners are usually on the smaller side compared to your outside corners, whatever you may have with that. But Barksdale's a baller, man. This guy plays with no fear on the football field. The tweet that I put out when it came to DJ Barksdale and his commitment was a play where he comes from the right side of the field. It was tweeted out by the great Liam Blutman, which I know UCLA fans, Barstool fans are all in love with, all fans of. And Barksdale makes a play where he goes probably 30 to 40 yards horizontally from right to left and makes a tackle behind the line of scrimmage for a Power 4 school, Louisville. And he was third team all Big 12, Sun Belt this season. 12 pass breakups. I mean, that is elite numbers at any level. They were trying our guy, DJ Barksdale, the new slot corner for UCLA football. And time again, this kid stepped up and made plays. And it was very, very encouraging to see that. Bob Chesney was even asked during the season. It was a play that, they needed to make. I think he was a 5'9" corner in DJ Barksdale and a 6'2" outside receiver. He gets a pass breakup. And they asked him in the postgame presser, what it is about DJ Barksdale that makes plays. And this is Chesney's words, not mine. Chesney goes, this man is an elite corner and cover of football. And he did just that out on the outside and on the inside. Barksdale's a baller. He makes plays. He's had 4 interceptions in the past 2 seasons. Think about like an Upton Stout for the 49ers or a Nickel Roby-Coleman, that really good slot corner for both of those teams. That's what UCLA got, and they just got a starter in that. Cole Martin, I think, was going to be flirting with that nickel corner. He moved to safety at times last year, and I'm high on Cole Martin. I was very excited to welcome him back because I felt like a lot of the secondary's problems was because there was no pressure. And when a quarterback, has the time that UCLA's defensive line allowed last year, they were able to make plays. And that's something we still need to work on. We still got our eyes on different guys. But, yesterday I felt like we got 2 starters legitimately in Riley Robel, the right guard from James Madison, and Schmidt Hall. Hall Schmidt coming from Boise State. He's got 2 first names. Give me a break. Offensive tackle from Boise State, 6'8", 308 pounds. Really excited about both of these kids. And, it's just in a very, very encouraging sign for UCLA to keep getting these starting level players. They're checking off boxes each and every day with how they're going to fill out this roster. And it was going to take a lot of big bodies for UCLA to have a shot. It started with Nico. Nico was the guy that started everything out, brought the momentum to UCLA football. When your quarterback one recommits a, former 5-star talent at that, a guy that was a part of a college football playoff team in Tennessee just 2 years ago, that sets the tone for everybody else. And all these guys are coming from winning programs. Jamal and I talked about it. Hall Schmidt was, part of the Mountain West champions 2 years ago and was one of the big 5 up front blocking for the great Ashton Jeanty. And Riley Robel, part of the James Madison crew, He's was one of the leaders on the offensive lines and one of the leaders of the team. He's coming here. It never hurts to have guys that are used to winning and expecting to win, especially when they're familiar with the philosophy that Bob Chesney brings out there. So you add another one of those guys on defense in Barksdale. That's just another check in your box. We're checking off starters. We're adding new players. We'll keep it on the positive. We are going to be talking about what's going on. Keep your questions coming. For those that are wondering, did Thomas really choose Cal? Unfortunately, he did. I can't even take breaks right now, guys. The transfer portal is as crazy as it's ever been. College football, listen, the transfer portal has its flaws. I don't know if you guys have saw what's going on with Damon Williams right now at Washington. He signed some contract with University Sharing, and he's trying to get out of that. He just signed a contract 4 days ago, already trying to get out there and leave the contract itself. But with all of the chaos that's going on in college football, we talked about it, over 30% of college football's players are in the portal. Like, think about that. That's insane to think about. It's also as exciting as it's ever been to be a college football fan and just see the revitalization of some of these programs like we never thought we would see. Your Vanderbilts, your Texas Techs, your freaking Indianas, Ole Miss, outside of the Mannings, like they've never really been relevant in college football. So it's really cool to see teams like this really make a jump. So DJ Barksdale, that is a guy that I'm very, very hyped on. We also got a big returning commitment in Mateen Begani. I know people are going to be like, hey, it's a kicker. It doesn't matter. For those UCLA fans that have rode with this podcast for multiple years, that have watched, what this team was about, I take you back 2 years ago when we had the worst special teams in the entire country, could not hit a field goal. You want a kicker when you need it. And Begani has been one of the most consistent kickers, within this conference for the past 2 years. I mean, you look at the numbers with Mateen Begani. By the way, also getting his long snapper in Salem Abdul Wahab coming back. Begani, 36 of 44 attempts in a Bruins uniform, including 5 of 9 on 50-yarders. Begani's a big get, and I feel like there's going to be games next season where, maybe nothing's going right offensively, but we're in a defensive struggle or it's a shootout and we need to get a last-second field goal. Having the kicker, down pat, getting the guy that we wanted to bring back to a UCLA Bruins uniform, it doesn't seem like a big commitment given that it's a kicker, but it is a big commitment as it will, result in some wins and losses for UCLA football moving forward. So Begani, on paper, we think he is back. That is the rumor. We are still waiting on confirmation from that. But if Mateen Begani is truly back with UCLA, that'll be a big one. And then we got a tight end today, guys. Josh Pfeiffer, tight end from James Madison. I really like this for a number of different reasons. Huge. He's 6'6", 259-pound tight end. Like, this guy, if he wanted to, he could put on 10 to 15 pounds to be a tackle. Like, he is already that close to being a tackle. And from a blocking tight end standpoint, that's just essentially, with these 5-man line, you can put a 6 guy on the end, like a tight end, and just block an outside linebacker and edge into oblivion. I'm a really big fan of Josh Pfeiffer. I think he can bring a lot to the table in what he presents for the different personnel. Maybe we can run more 12 personnel. Unfortunately, I know we had another tight end today that we thought was going to come to UCLA, had crystal balls with his name on it. If you guys have been watching the episodes, Madman asked me who was one of my top targets. Personally, Dorian Thomas was that guy for me, the former Arizona Wildcat and New Mexico Lobo, coming from Jason X system. This guy was a baller, man. 50-plus catches, over 500 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns last year, made plays in big games. His visit went very well at UCLA, but that guy up north at Cal, Tosh Loophole, and we've heard about this guy for so long. I don't know if you guys have been as tapped in on Tosh Loophole, but I'll give you the lowdown. So I graduated high school 2012, 2013. And one of my good friends that I grew up with was an elite high school football player, elite. He could have gone to USC, could have gone to UCLA, Oregon, Cal. He ended up going to Arizona State. His name's DJ Foster. He actually is a top 3 yardage holder at ASU. And it was down to Cal and Arizona State. And I was like, dude, why Cal? You got really great, offers from a lot of different people. And he said, this guy, Tosh Lupul up there, is one of the best recruiters I've ever seen. Like that, those were his words verbatim to me. And then just seeing the trajectory, because I kind of tabbed that back 13, 14 years ago, being like, I wonder who this guy is, where's he going to end up. He went to Nick Saban's staff and was at Bama and was one of the dudes that would just go get the top players in the country. He was so valuable that Oregon with Dan Lanning, you could get whatever coaching staff you want. They will outbid every single person in the country. Nike is bankrolling it. Tosh Lupul comes up there and he's their defensive coordinator. Does a very good job. And when he comes down to Cal, you are already seeing the seeds being planted for what this guy can do. He just sniped us with Dorian Thomas, but that's far from his biggest commitment of the day, guys. He just got Cam Coleman, the number one player in the transfer portal, a wide receiver from Texas. He went to high school in Texas, played at Auburn last year, was visiting the Longhorns, was visiting the Texas A&M Aggies. He had a visit scheduled for SC, all the blue blood wide receiver schools, and he chose Cal. Think about how impressive that is as a recruiter. I'm sure he got a bag. No questions asked. He probably got a ton of money. But for a guy of that caliber to say, hey, I'm going to Cal, a large portion of that has to be on the coaching staff. And that's what Tosh Lupul brings. And what makes me very, very excited about this is we have Cal on the schedule next year at Berkeley, a game that Jamal and I have circled. We're going to try to put together a tailgate or something like that for this game. If you guys want to go to a tailgate with this podcast, we'd love to have you guys out. We'd love to have as many people out as we possibly can. And then the next following year, they're going to follow us down to the Rose Bowl. So a rivalry that we thought might be dead, that has some bad blood. We're talking about Calimony that we had to pay. When we left for the Big Ten, Cal wasn't pissed at USC. They were pissed at UCLA because they looked at us as a brother. And that's how we are in a lot of ways. I feel like we're the more talented, more beautiful brother in that equation, but that's how they think about it. You know what I mean? So it's very, very intriguing, very interesting to see what's potentially going on with what's up north there. And you got Bob Chesney, who I think we could start a little rivalry here. We have Shanahan and McVay in California as a rivalry. Why not make it Chesney against Lupul, the team down south and the team up north? Bob Chesney, my friends, is the schematics guy. He's the guy that's going to outcoach you, outgrind you, get the team coming. It's going to be a lot of fun watching his team go up north to the guy that's the main recruiter. He's never been the head man, but he can get all the talented players. He just did it. He got the number one guy in the portal, and he was able to keep JKS. I hate to say it, Cal's got a legit quarterback in their guy JKS up there. If you guys have not seen him, it pains me to say that in my heart of hearts, but this lefty from Hawaii, it looks like Tua's younger brother. And you can say what you want about Tua on the Miami Dolphins now, but when he was at Bama, Tua was the man. So there's just a lot of good stuff going on there. Keep those questions coming. I see them coming up. I got one right here from our guy, Raleigh Alvarez. What's going on with Knight? I am still waiting to hear on Wayne Knight and Sahir West. We are all on pins and needles on this. I don't know much about the visits they're potentially going on, what they're thinking about, but these are the two guys that I think from JMU that we've all tabbed as number one targets for UCLA moving forward. And I think UCLA is going to have a good running backs room. Like Vanessa, we haven't heard anything about Javian Thomas leaving just yet. We haven't heard anything about Anthony Woods leaving just yet. I saw potential with those guys, even with how dysfunctional last year was, especially with a new revamped offensive line. So if we can get, a Wayne Knight and a Sahir West and keep building and maybe get some of these other guys. And, I'll give you a couple dudes that we think we may have shots at. One name that's been heating up recently, specifically that's going on, is Leland Smith of San Jose State, 600 plus yards last year, 6 touchdowns. San Jose State really good at developing wide receivers. Nick Nash was among the best wide receivers in all of college football for the past 2 years. When he was there, he was actually drafted in the NFL last year. Leland Smith has an NFL body. Yes, and we're still waiting on Aiden Mazzell, the wide receiver. I've been reading some of the reports. I've been having people reach out to me talking about what's going on with these visits, the lowdown. And Mazzell had a really good visit. I want to say we've got a great shot at getting Mazzell to come to UCLA, but I thought the same of Dorian Thomas. I think we all did, right? So I don't want to put 100% on Mazzell, but he really loved LA. So that's a guy I'm really, really looking at when it comes to Mr. Aiden Mazzell. So if you can get Leland, we just talked about him. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. He's like an absolute unit as a wide receiver. And just to give Nico just a big-bodied wide receiver, because I loved Quasi, I loved Rico, I loved some of our guys last year, but we didn't have a big-time, big-bodied receiver to that level that Leland Smith possesses. And I think that would be a guy that, given what's transpired, given we've lost that Dorian Thomas, that would be a guy I'd really be looking at. And what about Claude, linebacker from Cal? I think you mean, let me see who we got here. He's got a crazy name. It's Cade Ulaave. So I'm hearing BYU. That's a name that I've heard. But if you're UCLA, this has to be a priority. You know what I mean? And if it's about money, let's go back to what Bob Myers told me. Thank you for bringing this up. This is the only time I'm ever going to shout out my guy Trojans First because, buddy, your name is literally Trojans First. I have to do it. I'm just playing. But Bob Myers told the truth. The money should be there for the top guys. So here's what I would say. If it came down to money, those aren't my words. Those are your words, UCLA administration. Let's see it. Let's put it out there for the Ulaave. And like you said, man, Vic Sohoto was co-defensive coordinator last year at Cal with Justin Wilcox. It's one of those things, man. It's one of those things where you have the connections there. You say you have the resources. I know BYU is a place he's seriously looking at, but why can't you just throw your hat in the ring? You have the connections. Cal is clearly one of those places where they like to come down south. I mean, we talked about Javian Thomas today. Mateen Bagani was a Cal transfer. We just got Ryan McCullough in the transfer report. We previously had Femi Oladejo. Cal players like to come down to Southern California. So let's keep that pipeline strong. It's going to be harder with a guy like Tosh Lupol there, but let's keep it going. And my guy, the 4 letters, he said, Wayne Knight trending towards West Virginia. That is tough to hear if that is true. We can keep and develop Cox, Woods, and Jett. That's still a good trio. And here's my thing with Wayne Knight. I think a lot of the stats he had against the Oregon game, while it was impressive, 110 yards, it was kind of garbage time against the Oregon Ducks. He's a little undersized, too. And listen, I want Wayne Knight to come here. I'm not saying I don't. But if he were to opt to go to a different destination to play college football next season, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think, hear me out, unless if it is a legitimate Doak Walker Award winner or Heisman contending running back, I think it is as interchangeable as a position as there is in the sport of football. That's my 2 cents. There are those 5 to 6 elite guys, maybe more some years, maybe like 8 to 10. But outside of those guys, I think it is as interchangeable as a position as you can get. If you're asking me if I'd rather have Sahir West, a dominant edge player who, listen, trenches is the sport of football. That's what we want. That's what I'm all in on. And I'm glad you brought this up, brother. What about Roderick Robinson? This is a guy that I have tabbed for UCLA that I'm very intrigued by. I don't know what his plans are. I'm not putting out any reports. This is some big stuff right here. Committed to UCLA from San Diego in 2023. It was the last year the Chip Kelly experience. He was the number 1 player in California at this time, by the way. Number 1 player in California. Went to Georgia. Has been battling injuries. Has been fighting for playing time there. It's been really, I've been keeping tabs on my guy. It's been really, intriguing to watch him enter the portal. It was also really sad because I want to see the potential that this guy possesses. 6'1", get this, 235-pound running back. This is like a Derrick Henry-sized running back coming to UCLA, or at least he was in 2023. And you think about what he could potentially bring if he were to come to an offense like this, just an absolute bell cow. You can mix and match with the likes of a Javian Thomas and a Woods. Roderick Robinson, to me, would be a guy that I would tab very, very high. And we'd have to see what his interests are. I'm sure he's got his suitors. But another one of those scenarios where it's like, listen, Bob Myers, we talked Julio Frank, we talked Jarman at the press conference. You guys are putting in, the time and energy and effort and resources to make this program relevant again. That's your words. Let's see it. Let's put our money where our mouth is and get out there and get some of these guys. That's my 2 cents on what I've seen that's been happening out there. And we have seen some very good, things like that. Bringing back Nico is a big thing. Getting some of these starting level talent players that are, not cheap, probably like 150, 200 grand for some of these starting level talent players that we've gotten. So if we can keep going and keep, upping the ante with some of these guys, I don't see why not. We can get 8-9 wins, maybe in year one, maybe better. If everything is to go our way, maybe that's our ceiling. 6 visits today. Nothing came out today of interest. I disagree. I think DJ Barksdale is a starting level nickel corner that I'm very, very intrigued by. I think 27 consecutive starts, all Sun Belt performer, 12 deflections last year as a 5'9" nickel. You're just stacking those starters, as I said at the top of the episode. I agree with you. If we got Dorian Thomas, it'd be a way bigger party. But anytime you check a box of adding a starter to a team that is completely doing a facelift, I think that is a big, big win. So I'm very encouraged by DJ Barksdale. Some other guys, we've been hearing about Leroy Bryant. He's also visiting some other programs around. He's a Washington corner. He actually had 2 picks against Boise State in the LA Bowl. So Leroy Bryant, Washington is one of those places where, they develop those guys, man. The Trent McDuffies, the Buda Bakers. The Huskies, for some reason, have been developing those high-end defensive backs. Why not dip your toe into a guy that's been, swimming in that water for a while? I like Leroy Bryant. We talked about Leland Smith. Donovan Falpeel is this New Mexico State wide receiver, kind of a scrappy slot wideout. He's got some explosive nature. And we do need to replace some wideouts. I would be open to it. If he's a ball player and Chesney believes in him, I think I'll believe in him too. So that's a guy that I'm looking at. Jaden Tua, this lineman from Oregon State. He made a couple appearances for the Beavers this past year. He's got a lot of eligibility yet left. Has flexibility between being a bigger guard and, kind of on the medium to small size tackles. That's a guy that I really like. But yeah, we got a lot of different guys, man. We got a lot of different guys. Another question right here. Raleigh Alvarez, what are you hearing on this staff's prospects on local high school recruiting? That's a good question. What I do know is we have more front office guys than I can count. Whether it's Derek Ray coming over from Florida State, whether it's us keeping Marshawn Freelou, one of the general operations, whether us, we got some new front office guys today. I heard a rumor about us guys getting some guys like that. I think we're going to be fine when it comes to recruiting. I'll put it to you that way. And, if there was one thing that Deshaun Foster said correctly, he didn't get it right. But if there was one thing that Deshaun Foster said correctly, winning does solve a lot of problems. And I think that's exactly what we're going to do if we show up year one, because we'll have the money. We'll have the Wasserman Center, as we've always had. UCLA has always been a sleeping giant for anyone that's always said things. We just have a lot of different guys. So the fact that they're building out this front office, literally like it's an NFL front office or one of these high-level Division I teams, I think, you got to be feeling pretty good about where the future's going with this team and this ball club. But keep these questions coming, man. I'm having fun. We're going to be here. I'm bringing on our guy Wayne Cook tomorrow. So 7:30 p.m. tomorrow, bring on our guy Wayne Cook. Give us some questions, man. Give us some questions. We need it. Wayne Cook's going to be on. Save some questions for Wayne. He won't stop texting us about what's going on in the portal. Wayne has been, very fired up to see what's going on for UCLA. So just a lot of different dudes. Let's see what we got here. Any ones that I missed? Any other questions, y'all? This has been a lot of fun. I'm having a blast. Even though we lost Dorian Thomas, bringing back Pagani, getting a new starting nickel in the highly effective elite coverage man that is DJ Barksdale, and getting, a very good tight end and our guy Josh Pfeiffer, who looks like a freaking damn offensive tackle. And I got our guy Angel Gonzalez. Angel, what's up, buddy? I remember coming out to your tailgate. You are the freaking man. Nico Brown from Yale. I hear there's a lot of, mutual attraction between both Brown and UCLA. And even though he was dominant, like led the FCS in yards per game, we've taken a couple flyers on some Ivy League guys, and they haven't been more than a rotational piece. I know we're very thin at wide receiver right now. Given Nico Brown's dominance at that level, I think he does deserve a crack at coming up to the high level of football and see what he could do. But I would like UCLA to really explore the receiver market a little bit more than our guy Nico Brown. But he was dominant, man. He averaged 108.5 yards a game at the FCS level at Yale. Oh, man, what's up, Ruben? Appreciate you, dog. It's just a lot of, it's a lot of uncertainty. I think the sad part of it all, because when you really break it down, and I hate to say this, like the team across town that we hate, that Trojans First may have in his screen name, has been the wide receiver factory of this town. I mean, they just won the freaking Bolitnikoff Award again this year. Like, who is the greatest UCLA football receiver? Like, it's JJ Stokes, and like after him, it's like, who's number two? Like, we don't really have a lot of great receivers within this program. Like, I saw J Mike at practice and he looked insane. He was unguardable, and we just screwed that up somehow. We had, Braden Pagan, who like looked the same on the practice field, just couldn't stay healthy. And you see what he does when he goes to Utah State. He looks like he's going to Wisconsin. We just haven't had those elite big-bodied wide receivers. And, I will say, if Leland Smith came from San Jose State, that's a guy that I really, really want. Really, really want. So if we can get that guy, I think that would be somebody, 6'4", 220, put him in like a premium environment with, all the resources and training that UCLA has and coaching. And let's see what this guy can do, because he has the body of a guy. It's all good, man. It's all good for what we got going on. All good. Cal lost all their players. Dude, Cal is, I hate to say it, man, Cal is on a heater right now. I don't know if you watched the news today, man, but it is some great stuff. But what up, Slapatro? What's going on, y'all? One thing for sure, UCLA has a real football coaching staff. These guys can coach his ass off. Agreed, bro. Anyone else in the tight end position that we could target since Thomas is heading to Cal? Great question, Daniel. What's up, guys? We just got Josh Pfeiffer today, who was in the James Madison kind of pipeline. We'd have to see. Let's see who's on roster. Camden Jensen is a kid that we recruited from Colorado that has some offers. He had some offers from some pretty good schools like Nebraska. I think he had one of the bigger Texas schools that offered. He chose UCLA and stuck with UCLA. Let's look up UCLA's depth chart right now, fellas. So our tight ends, let's see who we got. Habermill's gone. Peterson is gone, I believe. Noah Flores, I haven't heard much about. He was a 3-star recruit there. So, yeah, we can add another body there. It just sucks because Thomas was crystal ball to us. It's one thing if they have interest and then they choose someplace else. But when you're basically giving us a crystal ball, that means it's like you're like at fourth, you're like at the 1 yard line. You got to punch that in at that point. You know what I mean? So that freaking sucks. There are a few that entered the transfer portal today as well. Yeah, Jack Peterson is gone. How long will we have to pay little brother? I think it's like a 10-year thing, man. It's crazy. But, boy, if we go up to Berkeley next year, opening game, and spank the Cal Bears, that'll be something. And, guys, just to kind of give it out there, Jamal and I want to keep doing this show as long as possible. In fact, this is the only thing I want to do with my life is to just talk ball with you guys. Like I always say, come one, come all. Let's talk some ball. It costs you nothing. Can you guys please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel? I hate to even say that, but that's the culture of today's, media. With more likes and subscribes, we have better chances at keeping this thing running as long as possible because I love doing this. I love being with y'all. So man, I'm so grateful for you guys. This is such a community that we've built for a long time. And, we're going to keep going live when we have big news. It's going to be a lot of great stuff. And shout out to my guy, Ruben Rant, right here. I feel Chesney, thank you for the donation as well, brother. I feel Chesney will have a dominant run game year one. I think the offensive line is trending that way if they can get a couple guys like Hall Schmidt, Robel. Eugene Brooks was an underrated, re-addition. This kid was a former top 100 recruit, started at Oklahoma, transferred back to UCLA, big-bodied guard. Like, I think he's going to go to the NFL if he reaches anywhere close to his ceiling. Similar to Roderick Robinson. If you ask me the two or the three guys, I'll throw Nico in there too, because I think Nico will get a crack with better coaching. Those are the three NFL guys I have without a shadow of a doubt that will get a shot. Man, shout out to Fournier. You guys are making my night. Thank you for these donations. But, man, please give me the likes and subscribes because, man, we are trying to do everything in our power to elevate this community. And we finally have a glitter of hope right now with our guy, Bob Chesney. I've got nothing but love for you guys, and I want to just keep this thing rolling. Let's manifest some positive momentum going into tomorrow. Let's get some more commitments. Maybe Leroy Bryant can commit to us. Maybe Leland Smith can come to UCLA. Michigan Samaj Morgan's a name that we're looking at, wide receiver. This guy was a part of the national championship team as a slot wideout with Jim Harbaugh and, the Sharon Moore situation there. Roman Pearson's a Ball State defensive back that has scheduled a visit. Big one, too. He's 6'2". He's got great size. I like what I see from him. And then here's the wild card of it all. DeAndre Moore, Texas wide receiver. Colin Lockett, the new wide receivers coach from New Mexico, which is a reason why we thought we had a shot at getting Dorian Thomas. Yes, Aiden Mizell, by the way. Aiden Mizell, I want to say that's a really good standing we're in, but I just saw what happened to Thomas, who had a crystal ball. But yes, there's a lot of interest from Aiden Mizell as a slot receiver. That would be a big, big get if we got Aiden Mizell. I haven't heard anything about him. But what was I saying? Colin Lockett, New Mexico wide receivers coach, was a St. John's Bosco's Braves coach back in the day. And he was around there when DeAndre was there. And DeAndre was a top recruit from St. John's Bosco, was at Texas, and now he's kind of opening it up to different places he wants to check out. I think he was at Colorado today. Unfortunately, James Madison commitment. Holy smokes. You are too kind, my friend. Thank you so much. Our running backs are dogs, including our freshmen. I agree. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. That was incredibly kind by my man, BK. So thank you so much. But long story short, DeAndre Moore has been visiting different campuses and different institutions. We got to get UCLA in a mix there. And I know wide receivers coach Colin Lockett is trying to get him to UCLA. So if you have DeAndre Moore, who's like the perfect speedster wide receiver to come in and pair with Nico, we'll be cooking with gas. But that's all I got for tonight, guys. I've got nothing but love for everyone involved in here. UCLA, guys, it's a great day to be alive and be a Bruin. Madman, I think, will not be on to tomorrow, but we got Wayne Cook coming on tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. So bring your questions. Bring everybody out, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Nothing but love for you guys. And if you guys wish, it costs you nothing. If you guys can help me out with that like and subscribe button, you have no idea how much that means to me, to Jamal, and everyone that covers this show. Much love, guys. Bruin Bible, we are officially out. Nothing but love. Let's talk soon.